All right. Well, it is time to do a self-portrait, and we've got our paper here. The video is at a weird angle because I need to get my mirror set up as well. So make sure you have your mirror set up in one spot. Have everything set. Don't move things around. All right. Otherwise, you get your face from different angles, and that's not going to be good. Okay. So we're going to start. Since this self-portrait is really about our face and nothing else, we want to start with a head. And again, don't worry about, like, as always, when we start off, we don't worry about things being exact or perfect when we begin, right? Just get the basic idea of that in. Lay out what we know are our basic guidelines and measurements. Remember to go back and rewatch those videos on the face. Where are all the pieces? So I'm just quickly laying out where the parts of my face are going to be so that I know that those are my kind of guidelines, right? There's my neck. I can see that my ear is here. I can see that. I can see a little bit of that ear up here. I'm just going to quickly get basic ideas of what I can see in first. I got a lot of hair back there. All right. So, basic ideas of the face are there. Now let's start putting in a little bit more in terms of detail. Now, I get my glasses on for this. I'm going to focus, like we always should, on where are my lights and darks, okay? Don't try to draw things. Just, if you can think about all of your drawings as just ways to shade, you are always going to get something that is more realistic looking than if you try to go and say, I'm going to draw this thing. Well, remember that your eyes, like a camera, are just taking in lights and darks, right? We're not taking in lines. Lines don't really exist in nature. It's just lights and darks. So let's look at, I'm going to use my fingers to make some measurements here. Yeah, that looks right. About where things should be, because things seem a little off here. I'm just going to make sure. I'm not loving these glasses, but that's okay. I can fix them later. Okay, face comes down here. Again, measure where you can. If you've got, use your fingers, right? So I just measured the length of the nose, and then from my middle of my mouth to my chin, making sure that is actually the same. They should be, but you know, again, everyone's a little bit different, and so they're not necessarily always going to be exactly the same. That space is wrong. It's here. So self-portraits in general should be done in one sitting, right? So that your light isn't going to change, your information remains consistent. And again, just looking at lights and darks. Don't try to draw things. get in the lights and darks. You can always go back after and go, that doesn't look right. Well, go back and fix it afterwards, but don't, don't be too harsh on yourself with that. Things tend to, those lights and darks tend to be right. Far better than what you think, right? The whole point of realism is, like many of you said in your comments on it, it's about drawing or representing what is actually there as opposed to what you think is there. So just like the still life, I'm basically going to kind of bop around a bit, but try to work mostly on one area at a time, looking at my lights and darks, and trying not to overthink things. Oh, I see the problem with the glasses now. Haha. My daughter always says my glasses look like goggles. She's right. Now, the other thing to know about still lifes is as you're drawing your still life, you will always make yourself look much older and less attractive than you actually are in real life. So try not to be too harsh on yourself. Just let the drawing happen so that we can learn from it, right? And don't worry about the fact that you look like garbage, right? You always look better than you think you do. All right. So I'm not doing a lot in terms of my mouth yet, and that's because I'm talking too much. So, boom, there. And my mouth keeps on moving when I'm talking, so I'll come back to that later. I'm not going to be able to talk while I'm doing that part for obvious reasons. Now, important things. Don't forget that your hair has volume to it. I don't care how lank or like wet your hair is, it always has some amount of volume to it. Don't let it stick to the top of your head. Some of us have crazy volume in our hair. Some people have less volume in our hair. It's all good. Just draw what's actually there. The point of this exercise is not to design your perfect haircut or what you wish you looked like. The point of this is to see things as they are. Again, it's an exercise like all the other things we do to train our eyes and our hands to work together to see and represent what we actually see. Right now I'm looking at the lights and the darks in my hair. If you look at that video on how to draw hair that I posted, she does a really good job of explaining what it is I'm doing right now. Looking at filling in the dark areas first and then going back into the light areas. I mean, our styles may be vastly different in the way we draw, but these are basic things to think about. Really want to make sure you start with darks and then work your way to the lighter areas. You can always make those dark areas darker if you find that you need more contrast. But if you go like hog wild and make them crazy dark right away, there is no getting that back. So you know, add in sort of layers of information as you go. Always start drawing light, but again, start working from the areas that are darker. You don't start with them dark, but you start working with those areas first so that you have light areas you still have available. And don't worry, I'll get to my eyes. They're in there. But because I'm wearing these glasses, and they are so dark, I'm going to just put those in first. And really paying attention, especially on the glasses right now. If you have any spot on your face or anything you're ever drawing that has a reflected surface, right, you want to pay attention to those. Those are the things that give us, those little highlights are the things that give us like life in our drawings. Hopefully the picture I take to go with this will show the highlights the way I have them in the drawing. I don't know. We're going to find out. I'll do my best. Alright, I'm looking at the shadow being cast by my glasses here. Again, looking at shadows, the darker areas, put those in. Again, you always get them darker, but you want to start there. As you're adding in shadow, it's really important to make sure that you're following the sort of shape of things, right? If you have a lot of straight lines and a curved surface, well, that's not going to look like a curved surface much longer. You notice I'm making, like I draw and then I stop and I draw and I stop. That's because I'm looking at myself in the mirror a lot. Oh, this drawing is making me very obvious that I need some more water in my life. I'm obviously dehydrated. Look at those lips. Yikes. I should thank you all for having this class because I haven't done a self-portrait in a long time. It's kind of fun to do this again. When you're doing hairs, make sure that you're thinking about what direction they're working in. Eyebrows are a little bit easier in figuring that out because you can see generally what direction they're working in. When it comes to your pupils, remember that unless you have really, really dark ones, and even if you do, um, they're not generally the same color or the same shade even all the way through. So think about that while you're drawing there. You want to make sure that they are accurate to what you're seeing. That's one eye. When you're doing series of self-portraits, also think about how not all of them need to be the same, right? You want them all to be accurate to what you see, but you know, maybe one of your self-portraits you have clown makeup on. That's fine. If that's who you are, if that's the sort of thing that you like, do it. Have fun with these. Again, they're like all the things that we do, right? Most things in art, they are really exercises in seeing and exercises in getting our hands and eyes to work together. So the little squares I've got there in the eyes, that's my windows, which is where that most of that light's coming from. A little bit off the bottom there. And as you're getting into eyelashes and stuff, you can see I have a little bit that I've dealt with the eyelashes on the sides here. they don't ever stick up, right? We don't look like Minnie Mouse. No one does. Um, Make sure that, again, just filling in those lights and darks and not trying to let too much of that left brain thinking that wants to tell you what things look like in, right? You want to say, no, I'm not going to pay attention to you. I'm going to pay attention to only what I see. Let your right brain take care of it. That's where all of this thought process comes from. The ability to draw what we see. That's a right brain sort of activity, right? It's social awareness, but not social, sorry, distance. Wow, I can't even get social distancing out of my head here. It has to do with your ability to look at the distance between objects and the difference in light and shade, which is all from that right side of your brain. If we work with the idea of the right and left side of your brain, the idea that the left side helps you tie your shoes, the right side helps you pick out which shoes you want to wear, right? It says, no, you shouldn't wear yellow laces. Well, maybe you should, I don't know. Maybe your right brain says you should wear yellow laces. And I'm not going to stop with just my face. I have space on this. I don't need to put necessarily backgrounds in here. In your self-portraits, you don't have to. You can, obviously, if you want to. But you certainly don't have to. And as you can see, it's really important not to attempt to get your hair every single strand. That is not a possible sort of outcome for any drawing. You cannot draw every single strand of hair. You shouldn't even want to try to. It's just insane. Oh, I just realized I didn't quite finish that eye. Alright. It's looking pretty good. Something on that nose not quite right. Looking at the differences in contrast, right? Remember, you can always make things darker. If things are not dark enough, go back in and add a little more where it's needed. And let's see, get that there, that there. Shirt's coming up there. Shirt's over there. All right, cool. All right, the one thing I will say that maybe is important to keep just outside of accurate is to make sure that there is some sort of definition between your face and neck. You want to have some different definition there, because otherwise they blend together, and that is not a good thing. Alright, I think that'll do for our quick video here. It's already pretty long. Alright, so there is our, that's my self-portrait, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of yours.